Hello, Husker fans. Welcome back to the Husker Big Red YouTube channel. I'm Chris Peterson, and joining me as always is Danny Gillette. And we're back here on a Thursday afternoon. We're going to talk some Nebraska football in Illinois. We have a top 25 matchup set for Friday night. It's going to be a huge game. Lincoln Memorial Stadium is going to be rocking. So we're going to break it down. We have some keys, X factors, some bold predictions, and we will offer up our final score predictions. Before we get to all that, make sure that you guys hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, get into the comment section. And Danny, how are you feeling about this matchup on Friday night?
I'm so fired up between my Patriots playing tonight, even though they'll probably lose, and then Nebraska tomorrow. Like, this is a fun 2 days for me. And like we were just talking about off air, like I really became a hardcore Husker fan during the Scott Frost era. So I never got to, live through any of this excitement. And as you were telling me, this used to be the standard, the packed stadiums, the rowdy fans, the excitement around the game. So I'm finally happy that I can kind of live like through this. And it's the case for many of the students and many of the younger fans as well. So this is like our chance to kind of just, kind of take in that excitement. And, we've never really seen anything like this before for Nebraska football. So it's just so exciting. It really is.
It is exciting in Nebraska. Like I was saying off air, we did used to have as strong a home field advantage as anybody in college football. I can't remember what the winning streak was, but when Texas beat us in like 1998, I think it was like, I can't even remember, 40, 50 game winning streak. I mean, teams just didn't win in Lincoln Memorial Stadium. And you can see with the home field advantage, like with Colorado, we've seen it plenty of times over the past few years. And I think we're going to see that on Friday night. And that's one reason why I give Nebraska an edge, because it's not easy to win in Lincoln. And when you have a team like this, I think it's going to get to the point where, it's almost impossible to win in Lincoln, especially with this quarterback that we have. So at any rate, I think it's going to be a tough matchup for Nebraska, but I think there's lots of things that kind of, give Nebraska the edge in this matchup against Illinois. So let's just break it down. I mean, Nebraska's still an 8.5 point favorite going into this matchup. I guess I should check that. That's what they were the other day, but about a touchdown favorite over Illinois. Both teams are 3-0. Nebraska's number 22 in the AP poll. Illinois is number 24. They've got Luke Altmaier at quarterback, 6 touchdowns, no interceptions, about 220 yards passing per game. So a very strong offense, a defense that's forced 9 total turnovers, 6 interceptions. I'm talking about Illinois. So lots of challenges in this matchup. So what do you think that the keys are going to be, I guess, for Nebraska going up against Illinois?
Get off the field on third down. I thought, for the first half of the game against Northern Iowa, we struggled to get off the field. And granted, that was part of Northern Iowa's game plan to have long sustained drives to keep our offense off the field. But even still, we struggled in the first half to do that. And, Nebraska got better in the second half in terms of, shutting them down and kind of stifling the Northern Iowa offensive attack. But against a team like Illinois, that can't happen. You can't have long sustained drives, and you can't have drives that take a ton off the clock. I mean, Illinois is a very good football team, and against an opponent like Northern Iowa, you can kind of get away with it because there's a skill gap a little bit. Against Illinois, you can't do that. So I'm looking to get off the field, especially on third down. That's one of my bigger keys, to be quite honest with you.
Yeah, I think third down defense is going to be essential. To me, a big key for Nebraska in this game is going to be stopping the running game and stuffing the running game of Illinois. They've been pretty good at it, 4.4 yards per carry, 153 yards per game. I just think that, if Luke Altmaier is forced to, be in a 3rd and 8, 3rd and long, if they can make Illinois be one-dimensional as they were last year. He had 49 pass attempts, Luke Altmaier did, against Nebraska for only 286 yards. That's like 5 yards per attempt. So that's the kind of game I think Nebraska needs to play on Friday night, and I think they can play that, but it's going to come down to stopping the run, because and part of that's going to be slowing him down running the ball too, because that gave Nebraska, some issues with the quarterback run game last week against Northern Iowa. So if they can hem in that running game and hold Illinois to, under 100 yards, 75 yards or whatever, I think that's going to be a huge edge for this defense in terms of getting pressure and putting a lot of pressure on Luke Altmaier.
Excuse me. Sorry. I guess my next key here is second half offense. Second half offense has been a big problem, for Nebraska over the last 3 games, they've had a combined 23 total second half points, and I understand Nebraska's won 34-3 Northern Iowa, 28-10 Colorado, but I just love to see a little bit more consistency in the second half. I understand the Colorado game was a little bit more muddied up by the officiating, and some plays that would have gone for touchdowns were called back and things like that, but I just love to see a complete offensive game plan from start to finish.
Yeah, I think better execution and just cleaning up some of those penalties will help. They had fewer penalties last week, but still, when you get a false start or something to start a drive, it really can, put you behind the change, especially against a really good defense in Illinois. I think the key for me is, keeping the game clean, keeping Dylan Raiola clean in the pocket, which I think Nebraska can do. They've only allowed 1 sack in 3 games. Illinois has 5 sacks in 3 games, which, isn't nothing, but it's not a fearsome pass rush. So Nebraska should be able to keep Dylan Raiola clean in the pocket. They've had some issues with that even last week, and he does a really good job. I think that's been an underrated aspect of what he's done through the first 3 games is the fact that Nebraska only has 1 sack is he's gotten so good at 1, he knows how to get rid of the football, but 2, he is very tough to bring down. He's 6'3", 230 pounds, and he is elusive back there. So I think that's kind of an underrated part of his game is just kind of having like that Ben Roethlisberger mentality in the pocket, like a really hard guy to get down. And then the other thing is he, finds a way then to make throws down the field. So playing a clean game and then just, protecting the football still. Two turnovers, 2 giveaways in 3 games for Nebraska. If they can keep along that, keep the turnovers to 1 or fewer. I think if Nebraska turns it over fewer than 2 times on Friday night, like just give it away 1 time or 0 times, I think Nebraska wins the game. So that's another big key for me.
They've been really good at minimizing turnovers, especially when you consider the turnover problems that they had last year. They've done a much better job of that, and it's been great to see. And then one of my keys, and maybe even one of the matchups to watch, is Pat Bryant against presumably Tommy Hill, the Illinois wide receiver. 15 catches for 235 yards and 4 touchdowns. I know I talked a little bit about him on our last show, but he is a dynamic playmaker. He averages 23.3 yards per reception versus Associated Press top 25 teams. And, he's a very good wide receiver. He can get into open space. He made things happen after the catch. He had 500 yards last year, 560, already 235 this year. So I think Nebraska should be able to shut him down, but he's certainly not a player to take lightly. So the Tommy Hill, Pat Bryant matchup, if they can shut down Pat Bryant, then, I think Nebraska has a good chance of winning this game. And, that's just more a testament to how good Bryant is.
Yeah, I am definitely going to be watching that matchup with Tommy Hill and Bryant, and that is a difficult matchup for him. We'll see how that goes. Another key for me, I guess my last key before we get to some of our X factors is just feeding Dante Dowdell the ball. Like don't try to get too fancy. And I think running the football is going to be a key factor in this game. Nebraska ran it better than Illinois last year, and just to be honest, I think the team that has more rushing yards and takes care of the football, like I know it's not sexy or anything, but this is Big Ten football. It's not sexy. It's the teams that run it, that take care of it, and that don't screw up. Those are the teams that win in the Big Ten almost every single week. And we saw Michigan basically win a national championship following that formula. And I know you have the 5-star quarterback, and it can be tempting to throw it all over the lot. I think Nebraska's done a good job with that. I think they've done a good job of not trying to play too much with the fancy toy that is Dylan Raiola, and they don't need to in this game. Nebraska, I think, has the better offensive line, the better defensive line. I think we got the best running back. We do have the best quarterback, so just don't get too crazy with it. Feed Dowdell, and then let the explosive plays come.
I was watching a video, Urban Meyer breaking down the Nebraska offense yesterday. He actually did a very good breakdown. It's on YouTube if you guys want to check it out. But he mentioned Dowdell has the ability to run and fall forward when he has the football, and falling forward for those extra yards or even for no gain instead of taking that loss is extremely important. He's a very good downhill runner, and he brings that in all facets of his game. So I think it's going to be really important to get him going. And, I've been very impressed with what he's been able to do this season. Yeah, he had the fumble issues, but it seems like he's cleaned that up. And he's just he's a very professional runner. Like, his job is to run with the football, and he knows how to maximize his carries.
Yeah, I love the fact that he falls forward. I think I mentioned that after the first game. You don't see him get hit for negative yards very often, and so
No.
that's really helpful in short yardage situations and goal line situations. All those spots where Nebraska has really struggled to run the ball the past few years, and yeah, you got Dante Dowdell for Big Ten football games and Gabe Irvin and those guys too. But this is when we really find out, if this guy's RB1. But I think he is, and I'm excited to see what he can do with like 15 to 20 carries against this Illinois defense on Friday night. So let's go to X factors. It could be, a particular, could be special teams, a particular player, but what do you think is going to be an X factor on Friday night between these two teams?
Ja'Cory Barney. I think if Nebraska can get him a little bit more involved in the offense, and they've already got him involved a lot in the offense, his speed and the way he can run and make things happen after the catch. I mean, he had a rushing touchdown last weekend. So I think, we talk about the Dylan Raiolas and the Dante Dowdells and the Thomas Fidonis. I think, this game is going to come down to, for both teams, players that you may not hear as much or players that don't necessarily grab all the headlines. It's going to be the supporting cast. So I think Ja'Cory Barney is going to be an X factor. He's shown it so far, and he's got a very bright future here, and I'm going to be very curious to see if they draw plays up for him near the goal line and in the red zone.
Yeah, Ja'Cory Barney, I think definitely is a good X factor. Another one I'm going to throw out there is Carter Nelson, and
I was going to go there too. Yeah,
he got some run last week, and the thing about it, is when you look at Nebraska's offense, what makes it so difficult to defend, in my opinion, you got Jamal Banks and Isaiah Nayer out there. Okay, well, you can put your two best corners on them. That's fine. But then, then who are you going to cover Jalen Lloyd with? Who are you going to cover Ja'Cory Barney with? Who are you going to cover Carter Nelson? So, I mean, when you've got all those receivers and then you put Carter Nelson out there, in that slot position, and this dude is 6'4" and runs, sub, 11 seconds in the 100-meter dash, like, what are you going to do? If you try to put a safety on him, like, he's going to get roasted. And so I just think whether it's Carter Nelson or Ja'Cory Barney, I do think it's those freshmen that they're going to have that X factor. I mean, you could throw Dylan Raiola in that mix as well, but he's kind of, I don't really, see him as an X factor guy. I do think it's going to be Ja'Cory Barney or Carter Nelson, one of those guys making an explosive play in the passing game that helps set up a score for Nebraska. And it's just at some point, Illinois is going to get caught in the matchup that is favorable to Nebraska, and Dylan Raiola is really good at finding those and exploiting them.
Another X factor I'm going to have is a little bit kind of unorthodox, but Henry Lutovsky. He's going to get the start on Friday night, according to Matt Rule. Micah Mazuka, it's very interesting, and I'm sure you've been following this.
Yeah, they don't want to say what's up with him.
Yeah, at first he wasn't going to play. Now he's going to play. Now he's going to be available to play. So I'm curious to see how that side of the line kind of shapes up on Friday. And I think Henry Lutovsky is going to be a key component of this game, because we saw a little bit of a drop-off when Mazuka is not in the game. So, I think that's going to be an important piece. I think Lutovsky is going to have a big role. And, yeah, it's very interesting, his status. I think I've heard some things. I'm not going to speculate here, but I'm just happy that he is available to play, and we'll see what happens. But I think that's going to be a side of the football to watch.
Yeah, I did think that was interesting. Like, well, he's not going to start, but if we need him, like if Lutovsky's not getting the job done, we'll throw him in there. So I don't know. It'll be interesting to see how that works out. I mean, I have confidence in Henry Lutovsky. I've liked him since 2022. I think he's a starting caliber guy at this point. I mean, at this point in your career, you should be ready and developed to be, a quality starter with as much kind of practice and preparation time that he's had, and even playing time. He started last week. That's not the first time he started games. Yep. So it's not his first rodeo, and I feel comfortable with him. And I guess another X factor for me is going to be the kicking game, and I think that's going to be Tristan Albano. Look, Nebraska's been really good in the red zone, but I just feel like they might, Dylan Raiola is going to see, disguised coverages and other things, and I feel like he's going to be maybe a little cautious, just being very sure that he takes care of the ball. And I maybe Illinois will trick him a time or two in the red zone, but I think Tristan Albano is going to have to kick some field goals. I think this is going to be one of those field goal games where you see him make like 2 or 3 NFL style. And so I think Tristan Albano is going to come through and make 3 field goals on Friday night. So maybe that is more of a prediction than an X factor, but I just think that he's going to kind of reaffirm himself as that kicker one. He started to do it last week, but I think he'll cement himself after this game.
And you talk about the defense and the defensive line and, those guys, and they definitely deserve their flowers 1,000%. But I'm going to watch for what I like to call the energy guys, Isaac Gifford and John Bullock, guys who are all over the field. Gifford had 10 tackles last game. Bullock had 9. And, they're the type of lunch pail players that I like to call. They just go in, they find the football, and they're always around the play. So I think having them have a big game on Friday is going to be important because they just play with the best reckless abandon possible. They love to find the football. They love to tackle. They're all over the field, and I'm definitely going to miss both of them when they leave the program because they just love the game, and you can tell. So I'm very interested to see what they do on Friday, and hopefully they'll show up in the box score quite a bit.
Yeah, I'm excited too. It'll be just fun to see also Jamari Butler coming back.
Yep.
I'm sure he's going to be playing with his hair on fire. Another X factor for me, like from the Illinois side, something that Nebraska needs to do is they need to watch Luke Altmaier running the ball. He doesn't have a ton of yards so far this season, but he had one game where he ran 3 times for 27 yards. Last season, he had a 100-yard game rushing. He had a 70-yard game, a 69-yard game. So, like, he can make plays with his feet, and that's just, like, I think Nebraska's got to keep him, like, under 20 yards rushing. If he gets, like, 40, 50 yards rushing, if he breaks off, like, a long run, like, that's just one of the things that I could see giving this defense problems. And I'm sure Illinois saw Northern Iowa do it last week. So I think that's got to be a point of emphasis, like, maintain your rush lanes. Do not you have to stay disciplined in your rush. Like, make sure you're watching him running the football, because those are some things I think that could hurt the defense if you've got everybody covered up, especially if you're playing like man coverage concepts as well, which we haven't seen a ton of. We haven't seen a ton of that from Nebraska, but I think that they do have to watch Luke Altmaier running the ball.
I was going to say, last week Nebraska kind of struggled a little bit. Aiden Dune had 11 carries for 49 yards, averaging 4.5 yards per run, and they did a good job of covering down the field, but accounting for their quarterback was something that they struggled with. And I'm curious to see if they cleaned it up for Friday, but that's definitely a good one. And I guess probably my last one, not really an X factor, but something I'm watching for is the continued impact of the freshmen on the defensive side of the ball. One of the guys that kind of really stood out to me last week was Vincent Shavers Jr., and he's a stud. He's going to be an absolute stud here in Lincoln. He's got great speed. He's got the ability to find the quarterback. And he's just a really all-around solid player. And we kind of knew that when he was recruited, but he was able to get 4 tackles last week and get pressure on the quarterback. So I'm curious to see if they add him in any more roles on the defense this week besides just the final moments of the game, because he is just a dynamic player.
All right, let's go to our predictions now, some of our bold predictions. I'll get it started. My first bold prediction, I think Dante Dedel is going to run for 100 yards on Friday night. Okay,
that's a good one. I think that Dylan Raiola is going to crack the 300-yard mark in terms of passing.
I could see it. I definitely could see it. I think there's going to be some running attempts. Like Dowdell's going to get those linebackers coming up and that play action. Nebraska likes to actually run true play action, not like the RPO stuff. Like true, stick it in the running back stomach, take it out, bomb it downfield. Like, I'm just waiting for them. And maybe Ja'Cory Barney gets it on a Friday night, but we're due for like a 60-yard Ja'Cory Barney touchdown. It's just
that'd be great.
Jalen Lloyd. It's just we're due for one. But might as well stick with it. Ja'Cory Barney. I'm going to predict he gets hits at least like a 40-yard plus. At least he's going to catch a ball that covers at least 40 yards on Friday night.
Heinrich Harburg is going to score a touchdown. That's my bold prediction. I mean, we saw him a little bit in the red zone package here on the field, and I think he definitely brings a different element when it comes to the red zone, and he's got tremendous athleticism. So I think even if it's from a yard out, he gets a touchdown on Friday night.
I kind of already revealed my field goal prediction, so I'll go with another one, not necessarily a bold prediction, but I'm going to say that Tommy Hill comes up with an interception. I think that Illinois is going to try to force the ball in there a little too many times, and it's like you try to put your hand in there and you get bit, and that's going to be Tommy Hill's going to bite Luke Altmaier with an interception on Friday night.
Ooh, okay. I'm trying to think of one more or a couple more. Cameron Leonard's going to get a sack on Friday night. I feel like he's done a very good job of getting pressure to the quarterback, and he's a dynamic player. I think he's going to get a sack on Friday.
I can see that. I definitely can see that. So now that we've gone through the keys, the X factors, our bold prediction, let's predict it with the going up against the spread. So we got Nebraska 8-point favorite going into this matchup against Illinois. What's your score prediction for Friday night?
Nebraska 30, Illinois 24.
30-24.
It's going to be close. It's going to be it's not going to be 8. It's going to be a lot closer than that. I mean, yeah.
So I'm going to stick with I do think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be a competitive game, and I think it's going to be 23-14 Nebraska. I think Tristan Alvano makes a field goal with a few minutes left in the fourth quarter to give us that 9-point lead. 23, I know it does sound a little bit low on the score scale. I think Nebraska is going to have over 400 yards of total offense, but I just think Illinois is going to hem us in the red zone. Maybe there's another turnover on downs. We go for it on fourth down. There will be some meat left on the bone, but Tristan Alvano will hit some field goals. The defense will get a key interception late, and we're going to win 23-14.
It's going to be a physical battle, and I think it's going to be who can wear down the other team first, and whoever does that will win this game.
I agree, and I just think looking back at last year, Nebraska was the better team in the trenches and the defensive line. I just don't see Illinois being able to run the ball. I think this defense is going to play better than they did last week. They're going to tackle better than they did last week. They're going to rise to the challenge. And the thing about it is I don't think Luke Altmaier, even though they're going to be one-dimensional, is going to get 49 pass attempts because we're not going to be, we're going to actually convert third downs. We're going to keep the ball. We're going to run it. Raiola is going to hit some big plays. We'll see if he gets to that 300-yard mark. I definitely think he could, but in order to do that, they're going to have to hit on some play action passes, and they've been close. They've been really close this year, and I feel like maybe we'll see a trick play or two that we haven't seen so far. Because with Colorado, they didn't need to do it. You know what I mean? I feel like against Colorado, they knew that they could just line up and out physical them, and I do think that they'll be able to do that against Illinois. But I could see him like a flea flicker, like something reverse pass. I think they got something up their sleeve for this game on Friday night.
I don't care what we see as long as we see a complete offensive game, which means both halves. The offensive droughts in the second half, even though we have technically scored points, are very kind of frustrating at times. And no, I don't want to fire Marcus Satterfield, so everybody can, miss me with all that. But we need a complete offensive game. We can't really have lulls heading into the second half. And, I'll be interested to see what they do to kind of ignite the offense once the game gets a little bit later, because this game will be won in the late stages. It's not going to be won in the first half. This is going to be a battle.
Yeah, it's going to be a four-quarter fight, but I feel like Nebraska is prepared for that. They've been in a lot of those the past few years, and I feel like now they're starting to get the confidence that we're the team that's going to make the play to win the game. And it takes winning games like this to just build that up more and more and more. But just watch out the rest of the Big Ten. If you let Nebraska win this game on Friday night, watch out, because a confident, talented Nebraska team is not one that you're going to want to see on the schedule.
And you think about all the great battles, and I was actually just talking to this with one of my friends, and it seems just like we always get the Friday games or the week 0 games, and the interesting games in Champaign. I can remember Adrian Martinez running the football back in 2019 at the late stages of the game. Wandale Robinson, showing up, and it's always been a battle with Illinois, and that's a testament to how good a coach Brett Bielema is. I've always had respect for him, and it's going to be a great game. I really do. I'm really excited for this. Honestly, probably the most exciting game of the season. You can say Colorado because of all the fanfare and all the hype, but I feel like this is going to be the best complete football game, in general so far.
Plus, it'd be great to end the losing streak against ranked teams, the 8-year losing streak against ranked teams. That would be awesome to get that. I think I might have predicted that before this season that streak would fall this year, and I didn't think it would be against Illinois, but here we are. So I
didn't think both of these teams would be ranked by the time this matchup came to town.
I didn't necessarily think that either. So, but Nebraska's turned some heads, but it's like Matt Rule said the other night, they're slowly becoming a good team, and they got to fight to be a great team. And I think they're really close. And the exciting thing though is that this team's going to keep getting better because we have a true freshman at quarterback. So, as he gets better, the upside and I guess the ceiling gets higher. And I think we've seen that. So I think like right now, it's pretty safe to say that this team has a higher ceiling than all of us thought. And I think they
Yeah,
have a lower
yeah.
floor than we thought too. Like I thought the floor was maybe like 6 wins. Now I think the floor is like 8 or 9 wins, and the ceiling could be 10 or 11.
I knew Raiola was going to be good, but I didn't expect him to be like this, like polished. I didn't expect him to be
That's
polished
exactly
as well as he is.
that's exactly the word that was like in my mind to say if you didn't say it, is polished.
Yeah,
He just, when I watch him play, man, he looks like he could be in the NFL like right
right
now.
now, yeah.
He physically, he looks like he's 230 pounds. Like I saw a guy last week that tried to hit him and he like it didn't even affect him, and he just was like, oh okay, first down. Like he's gonna make so many. He just makes things look so easy for this offense. And last year, our quarterbacks made things so hard, just so unbelievably hard. So
And it's not even just the stuff that Raiola does on the field; it's the way he conducts and carries himself off of it. He's very good in interviews. He doesn't say anything crazy. You can tell he's been media trained, and he's just he's a very solid leader. He doesn't get too high or too low, and the team feeds off that. The team feeds off his confidence and his energy, and people always get on him for emulating Patrick Mahomes. Well, emulate Patrick Mahomes all you want. I love it. I love it. Just emulate him all you want. Make those throws. Be that dynamic playmaker. And I'm just so impressed with the way he's been able to, quite frankly, carry the weight of an entire state on his shoulder and not seem to bat an eye as a freshman, a 19-year-old at that.
Yeah, exactly. It's about finding the right people. And Matt Rule kind of said that, even Trev Alberts talked about that. And he did get the right guy in here in Matt Rule, and he brought the other right people, right? Because like you can find other talented quarterbacks. Dylan Raiola is not the only talented quarterback out there, but he was the right quarterback for Nebraska. And they got him here because like this is a pressure cooker. It is like being an NFL quarterback every single week, but this kid is prepared for it his entire life, and that's because who his dad is. And I love the fact that his dad was an NFL center and that his uncle's the offensive line coach, because he understands that part of the game. He gets protections. And most freshman quarterbacks, I would be really worried about this Illinois defense with 6 interceptions and all the pre-snap disguising of coverages. Yeah, and they're going to try to confuse him, and they probably will a few times. But you know what? Like he's disciplined enough when he is confused to throw the ball out of bounds and live for another day. Like that's the most impressive thing about this kid is he's not gonna force things. Like he will force some stuff. I'm not saying he never will, but he just when he has the football, I feel that it's safe. I feel that the football is safe, and that's the best thing I can say about him.
I can't wait for the student section, honestly, tomorrow, man. No classes. There will probably be some libations had before the game and throughout the day, so it's going to be
maybe
rowdy.
A few. I might have a few, actually.
It's going to be rowdy, and I'm just so happy that these kids and us younger fans have a team that we are finally proud to cheer for.
I'm not happy it's on Friday night, but you know what?
These Friday night games stink, and honestly, not to sound like an old man, but these like all night games, like way too many night games so far.
Yeah, I know. I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan because I'm gonna have to be streaming on my phone while I'm covering high school football. So that's fine. It works out. Nebraska has they beat Rutgers 2 years ago. The last year they beat Indiana. I thought about trying to take the game off, but then I was like, no. That's going to mess up the mojo. That'll put too much pressure on the team. That'll mess everything up. That'll ruin my karma. So I'm just going to go. I'm going to work, and I'm going to watch the Huskers do work streaming on my phone. So if you see a few less tweets from the Husker Big Red account tomorrow, that's the reason why. It's because I'm watching it on my phone. But I'm a great multitasker, so I will figure out a way to get my thoughts out there. So at any rate, you guys, I'll let you finish up with your final thoughts, Danny.
My final thoughts. This is going to be so exciting. I'm just so happy to be like writing and like talking about Nebraska. We're not talking about losses. We're talking about ranked teams. We're talking about Dylan Raiola. We're talking about key games this early in the season, and I'm just enjoying the ride. I'm just really enjoying this ride, and it's so fun to see everybody so excited about the football program. Sure, there's some fans who are still like crazy and mad that they canceled classes. There's always going to be that few, but I think by and large, it's so nice to have a team to finally be proud of and finally cheer for. And granted, we're always proud of the Huskers, and the state is always proud of the program, but it's a lot better when they win, obviously. And it's just really exciting. It really is, and it makes doing these podcasts and stuff all the more worth it, because I love doing them, but that it's hard after losses, and it's just a lot better when they win. So
it is a lot better when they win. So hopefully they win on Friday night and we can talk about another win. We can have another victory Saturday, Sunday, and Monday. So thanks for joining us for another podcast, you guys. And as always, go Big Red.
Go Big Red.